Science, a subject that I always found intriguing in class. After all, who wouldn't want to learn about how the world we live in each and every day works? Science is the reason we have been able to evolve and live without having to worry about things like gathering food or contracting illnesses. But with the honestly overwhelming amount of tools, subgenres of science, and the crazy amount of terminology that you have to memorize, I was turned off of the subject pretty quickly. There's just something about how broad science is that pushed me away from wanting to learn more. Because under every little nugget of information that I would learn, 5 more questions would sprout up. And while I understand the endless number of questions science has is interesting for some, it just wasn't for me. So why then is one of my favorite anime so far this season a show that centers around all things science? Dr. Stone follows everybody's favorite mad scientist Senku in his quest to restart humanity from scratch after a freak catastrophe turns everyone on the planet to stone. Using his extensive scientific knowledge to try and speed through the centuries of slow scientific progress humanity has accomplished during its time on Earth. This is where Dr. Stone succeeds at gripping me. Without a cool premise, it wouldn't really matter how cool they make all of the science lessons. I would have checked out immediately if they started with trying to teach me instead of giving Senku a reason to teach his friends about science. But starting the show off by showing the collapse of thousands of years of human evolution gives a real sense that Senku and his friends will have to use all of their knowledge to try and survive in a world untouched by humans. This not only makes for one of the coolest opening sequences I've seen, but also introduces all of our characters and what makes them interesting. The way Senku just casually counts 3,700 years in seconds really shows just how much of a genius he is, and Taiju's way of being overdramatic in every action he takes always puts a smile on my face. Dr. Stone has immediately made me invested in these characters and their personalities, to the point where when it incorporates the different scientific terms and jargon that Senku says, it makes me interested in what it might be about just because it is him saying it, making me more receptive to not only the characters, but the main draw of the show. Dr. Stone has created a world in which I care about the characters that are in it, making it where if science is needed to help them survive, I'm 100% there to learn and follow them on their journey. Dr. Stone has certainly accomplished creating a world and characters that are interesting, but when going scene by scene, the way the show presents the parts where it explains different chemicals, minerals, and scientific principles is interesting as well. They create scenarios based off of the life or death situation Senku and his friends are placed in, making the need to use Senku's scientific knowledge all the more urgent, as without it they would fall victim to the many dangers humanity has faced during its time on Earth. Watching Senku explain what minerals and chemicals are and how they have allowed the human race to fend off the many catastrophic dangers Mother Nature has thrown at them is incredibly entertaining. But hey, you might ask, the human race has faced thousands of life-threatening dangers and illnesses during their time on Earth. How would they survive when if any of them got sick, it would basically be a death sentence? After all, there's no medicine when humanity has been absent for 3.7k years. So what can they do to stave off deadly illnesses that have killed countless others? Why, calcium carbonate, of course. You mean you don't know what that is? Well, it can be used for 3 insanely special uses. Number 1, easily one of the best inventions of human civilization, agriculture. Instead of hunting and foraging for thousands of years, Senku and his friends can skip straight to growing their own food to sustain themselves, not needing to put themselves in peril to hunt dangerous beasts. Number 2, the building blocks of modern civilization. Construction. Calcium carbonate allows Senku to make mortar, which he can then form into a basic form of cement. This allows him to make stronger buildings and tools that can bear the strain of the elements. Number 3, the most important use of calcium carbonate is soap. Without a way to stay clean and sanitized, the first time one of them falls ill, it would basically be a death sentence. With no hospitals, medicine, or doctors, it is paramount that they keep themselves in top condition. Now you might be wondering, with all of these seemingly vital uses calcium carbonate has, it must be something that is difficult to come across, or at least something that wouldn't be available without modern technology. But no, as Senku tells Taiju, you can find loads of the stuff pretty easily. The shells that wash up on shore can be pulverized into calcium carbonate, and with Taiju's never-ending stamina, they basically have an infinite supply of the stuff. Another example of how Dr. Stone makes science entertaining is how Senku describes salt. What is today a basic seasoning and something most of us take for granted? Centuries ago, salt was a lifesaver, as it allowed people to pickle their food for preservation. Along with the added bonus of humans being able to enjoy basically anything as long as there is salt on it, such a simple resource that we live with today is something that will help Senku's group out immensely. Salt is yet another really easy to obtain resource as well, with Senku just gathering some from the salt water nearby. Or how about the miracle liquid that gets rid of the stone casings everyone has been encased in? Nitric acid. This is where they show that science isn't an immediate process. Senku and Taiju experiment for an entire year before they are able to find the correct potency to corrode the stones surrounding the rest of humanity. Testing with wine made from grapes and bat droppings to try and search for the correct combination. Dr. Stone is filled with little nuggets of knowledge like this that give real weight to the information Senku has brought along with him. Thousands of years of progress is stuffed into Senku's brain, and he knows each and every step him and his friends have to take to restart civilization. Dr. Stone makes me feel like I'm watching someone play a game where they have to restart the human race, completing quests, gathering materials, and gaining new allies along the way. It is kind of a weird connection to make, but the way Senku always lays out his plan in steps, and how each one of his friends seem to fill a classic video game character role, just makes me see them going on their very own epic quest, with Senku being the game master moving each piece to gain victory. I especially love how Dr. Stone builds off of the group's previous scientific discoveries to help future ones, creating a real sense of progress. If they build a furnace with the resources they gain from discovering mortar, you can guarantee they will use it in the future for all sorts of things. Whether it be for making food or trying to smelt something, they build off of each and every single discovery to make progress toward their ultimate goal. Every step feels as if they're taking one step closer to restoring civilization and the human race to what it once was. As if they're growing their own town, one invention at a time. Now I'm going to go off on a tangent saying how much the manga uses this tactic. Time and time again, you get to see Senku salvage for parts or use random little tools to make something that would normally be so far off from the time period they're in, making things like smartphones, tanks, drones, walkie-talkies, and much more, all with the power of science. Constantly surprising both the characters around Senku and the viewer with how he manages to scrounge up the correct materials to make modern-day inventions in a time where it should be next to impossible. Breaking each and every impossible invention into steps to show what our modern-day marvels of technology are made of, and how each and every single one can be remade with the power of science. This is why I'm excited as hell to see the anime bring all of these discoveries into motion. Being able to see what crazy gadget or invention Senku is able to come up with next is going to be amazing to see animated. Now, with only the first couple of episodes of Dr. Stone being out at the moment, it is hard to tell if the anime will be just as good as the manga in making me interested in Senku's scientific world. But so far, it's definitely on the right track. From the reaction faces to the awesome as hell nerdy vibe of the entire show, as the Dr. Stone vibe 10 billion% down. Along with the opening having one of the coolest ways of showing credits I've seen, where all the credits form out of different chemical compounds, and it's easily rose to the top as one of my favorite shows this season. As a side note, I am actually incredibly happy that Shonen Jump's new stories have been amazing. With The Promised Neverland being one of my favorite 200 IQ battle anime, can't wait for season 2 by the way, and Dr. Stone being able to always teach me something and put a smile on my face at the same time, the fresh blood of Shonen Jump is getting fantastic anime adaptations that have consistently been some of the strongest shows of each season. Seeing the new spins these shows have been putting on their respective genres is always a joy to watch, and I hope the good people at Shonen Jump will keep coming out with series that evolve this anime ecosystem we love so much. Dr. Stone has been one of the series I've been following for a while after I first read the manga around 4 months ago. And ever since I heard it was getting its own anime adaptation, I was incredibly hyped to see my favorite scientist Senku teach me all sorts of different scientific principles in cool and interesting ways. Dr. Stone has done the impossible and made someone who would normally fall asleep during biology class actually give a damn about all things science. Has done this by creating interesting characters and an interesting world for them to explore, along with the show presenting the scientific portions in a way that appeals to people who aren't normally interested in that kind of thing. Dr. Stone is a must-watch this season, even if you don't have any interest in science. Make sure you watch this one if only to join Senku and his charismatic friends on their journey to revitalize the now derelict Earth. Next to Vinland Saga and Fire Force, this is one of the shows that will be defining this season of anime, and depending on how the rest of the show goes, it could be your next favorite show. I promise that you will love this series, and maybe you might learn something along the way too. Hey guys, thank you so much for joining me on today's analysis of Dr. Stone. Like I said in the video, being someone who normally isn't all that interested in science, Dr. Stone surprised me in the way it made me appreciate and enjoy a subject that I would normally avoid. Reading about Senku's journey to bring human civilization back to what it once was has been one of my weekly habits, and now that the anime is out and just as good, I am excited as all hell to see what the medium of animation does to my favorite scientific world. I would also love to know what you guys think of Dr. Stone so far. Do you like it? Hate it? Throw your opinions down below and I'll love to talk it over with you. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next adventure.